We live in a world where we have access to the lives of anyone who's willing to share details for an audience of passersby, some subscribing because their story resonates, and others simply watching briefly out of curiosity, only to scroll away and never encounter them again. I grew up in a time where people say to never trust strangers for safety reasons. And now I trust the strangers online who say that the institutions we're taught to rely on don't have our best interests at heart, because I've experienced it too. I grew up in a country where everyone hates the government, yet civic participation is extremely low. There's a lot of talk of revolution, of spreading awareness as the antidote. And lately, I think of how there's few stories being told where the narrative isn't in pursuit of a reactionary whiplash to enforce new norms. Coming back to the fate taught me that God may have different dreams for us than we have for ourselves, and this made me anxious. A lot of women my age are subtly taught to look to marriage as a reward for salvation, as a way to dull the ache of feeling that this world may be too broken to be redeemed, so we can only look to build our lives with what we can control. But we can't control anything, especially outside of ourselves. We can only hope and pray. Yet, people just like you and me are drafting 100-year plans for what they envision their society to look like and how they will make sure they get there. But you and me, we probably shouldn't think too big, right? Just focus on yourself, maybe your family at best. And that's how we end up with poisoned water and children that don't make it to their 5th birthday. Children are working in mines right now because their families can barely afford food, let alone to send them to school. They work as slaves to find diamonds that we buy for $5,000 to prove that love is real, because money speaks louder than any other action. I used to think if I ended my life, wherever I go would be worse than the misery I feel when I evaluate all the ways my life didn't go the way it could have because I didn't work hard enough or know what I know now. Money seems to be the thing many of us are dreaming about these days because no job is safe anymore, and life is so much pricier than it was in decades past. Tech companies are adopting 996 schedules so your favorite LLM can eliminate all the work options available to build a stable life. Where do we go from here? Hello. I'm at just a local park in my city, and it's my first time here. I kind of just came because I realized that I only go to like one park near my house, and I never really explore around the city to see what else there is, like, nature-wise. So I was really surprised this place is so big and, like, there's so much water. And it's really nice. I just feel grateful right now to have the time to just go to a park in the middle of the day. I think that's my favorite thing about being in school right now. I do so much more than I do when I'm working full-time, or when I was working a full-time job. But working part-time and being in school, it just makes me feel much more like free in a way. So I kind of get it, like, you know, why a lot of people love just having that flexible schedule. Because honestly, having to be somewhere every day at set hours, it's so draining. But having the free time to just go wherever you want and knowing you're not feeling afraid about, like, your job, it's really nice. It's really nice. It's really nice to just sit in a park in the quiet and just listen to the birds and just reflect and just be grateful. Just be grateful that even in places where it seems like there's nothing, there's still so much beauty, so much life, you know. You know what's interesting is often I think, what's the point of being alive, really? You know, like, we're born, we have all this set routine, school, college, work, building careers, maybe marriage, parenthood, and all of that. And sometimes it feels really regimented, but not really. It's just like when you really, like, zoom out and start thinking, what's the point of life? Like, why are we really here? You know, why is it that we're always just looking towards the next thing? I've been asking God that, and just, you know, because thinking that way can kind of drive a person into depression. It can make you start feeling like everything's kind of meaningless. You finish one goal and then it's off to the next. And he's been teaching me that it is just to be really, yes, there are goals, systems, things we do every day. And if you think too hard about it, it all feels kind of meaningless and like, what's the point? You kind of just want to escape life, you know? But just being outside sometimes, I just realize, like, it doesn't have to be so complicated. I mean, yeah, it's good to have goals and it's good to have things to look forward to, but sometimes just pausing and just breathing and not thinking about what's due or what goal I haven't finished yet, it kind of helps me just realize that existing is kind of the point, you know? We're born, we're created by God, and as he's created us, we shouldn't want to, like, escape this life, to run away into the next world, heaven, or wherever else where everything's perfect, even if it's a broken world. Sometimes I just feel like maybe if we had more time to just pause and think, we wouldn't be so worried. At least that's how I feel for me. Just listening to the birds and watching the water flow by.